All right. Okay, we are live. Going to get some work done, hopefully. So let me go live on Amazon here, and we'll kick things off. And there was some interest in this laptop from viewers, and today we're going to test it. And then I'm going to have a full review coming up soon that won't be an hour and change long. So what we're going to do today is kind of run through our usual battery of tests, and maybe we'll get the boring ones out of the way first and kind of go from there. So I'm going to do my browserbench.org speedometer test first and let that rip on here, and we'll see how that goes. And yeah, we're just going to kind of run through our usual routine. And we are broadcasting through my new network card. So you'll see that video in the next day or two. I upgraded my production machine to a fiber optic patch cord, which is kind of hanging off the ceiling right now, but it works. And also my production computer is now running with a faster GPU. So if I get caught up this week, you get ahead of the game on production, I may try to mess around with 4K a little bit. So that's kind of my schedule here. All right. Well, we got a score of 189 on that. So let me put that into my database. And what I'll also do for the YouTube viewers is give you the specs on this. It's an i5 1165. It looks like YouTube has not sent out the notifications. I don't see that many people popping in yet. Either that or people aren't all that interested in this machine. This is a i5 1135 G7. So 1135 G7, 8 gigabytes of RAM and 128 gigabytes storage. There's not many options on this one insofar as configuration is concerned. Is a 12.4 inch display, which is not HD, believe it or not. So let me just pin this here. All right. So we got a, good score, I think. So let me just put this into my thing. If you go to Lon.TV/benchmarks, you can see the spreadsheet that I'm updating with this. And as far as its browser bench test is concerned, so this is the Surface Laptop Go 2. And it's an i5 1135 G7, and we've got a score of 189. So this is right where I would expect it to fall. So it's in line with other 11th generation chips. And this is, by the way, an 11th generation chip on this one, because this is for Microsoft, this is like their budget device, although it's not what most people would consider a budget price, if that makes sense. So that is what it is, but good score on that. No backlit keyboard either, by the way. Nick Forsopa is here. It looks like everyone's starting to find the stream now. Paul Bakewell is here. Romeric is here. Martin is here. David's here from Wales. It's a sunny day here in Connecticut, too. It's the last day of school for my kids, and they get out in about an hour or so. So if they, when they come home, I might greet them and take a pause. Okay, so we are now going to do the 3D Mark benchmark test. And I expect this to perform much better than the prior version. Joe is here from Apex, North Carolina. Hello, Joe. Good to see you again. Alvin is here. That price. Here's what it comes down to on price. Remix is here, and so is Heffen. Hello there. When you have something that is small, thin, and light, the price goes up. And that's what this is. But I would say, I've been using the other version of this because I bought the other one a year ago. And I use the you-know-what out of it because, of course, my Macs now don't run Windows software like they used to. And for all the Windows stuff that I do that's not video related, I use one of these. In fact, this is like my the other one I have is like my ham radio machine now, because it's super portable, it's adequately powered, right? It does, you know, it does what I need it to do. And this one, having used it now for a little bit, feels a lot quicker. So there's definitely a performance boost with the chip that they chose for this one versus what was in last year's. And you'll see that when we run this graphics test here. Greg M has got some thunderstorms in Canada. Yeah, I'm hoping we get a little rain later today so I don't have to go water the garden, but we'll see. And Romeric has an i7 11800H and got a lower result. I would try it again and then check and see what extensions you have on your browser. Browser extensions do impact that test. So I would look at that. All right, so now we are running the 3D Mark Time Spy benchmark test. And this we should see a better result on because this one has the Intel Xe graphics, which is not what was in the other one. Let me turn the sound off on here. Let's turn the sound off as this is running. And you know, I can't remember how the other one did, but I'm pretty sure that this is running much smoother. And we'll get, you know, a score from this benchmark when it's done running. And of note is that on the 10th generation Xe graphics, they were the same on the i5 and the i7. On the 11th generation, there are less graphic units on the i5 versus the i7. So this will not perform as well as an i7 would from that generation, but it's going to be much better than last year's Surface Go 2. So we'll let this run out here a bit and see what we get for a score, and then we'll play a couple games on it. Don't Throw Oranges is here from San Diego. Yeah, I think oranges should be eaten, not thrown. I agree with that concept. Charles G is here. But yeah, it seems to be actually running better than I thought. Interestingly, the fan isn't all that noisy on this either. We'll see what happens when it really starts getting pushed here. But the other one, the fan was much louder so far than this current version. Krinthat needs to put some clothes on. I Am On Tech is here from Vancouver. Hello there. Good to see you. Thanks for stopping in. Yeah, it's going to be kind of a chill thing we'll do today. Yeah, I'm surprised the fan isn't making all that much noise here. Charles said he's heard that the test is biased towards Apple devices but can't confirm. It's hard to say. I think the test does the same thing on each platform. It's possible that maybe Safari is doing things to look better on that benchmark, which are, you know, not translatable into real life. That could be what happens. But I usually use Chrome every time. And Alvin says, I agree, it's hard to find a small, sleek, nice design, no display. Yeah, that's exactly it, right? Like it's the features that you pay for, which I think require more engineering, right? And so they build more margin into these devices. So I have to say, like when I use this, and I refer mostly to my experience with the prior version, I feel as though it's a very nice laptop to use if you want something small, light, and portable. And I liken this, I mean, I like it for the same reason why I like the MacBook 12-inch device. Even with a performance hit, it was my go-to travel machine, right? And there's yet to be a replacement that, that works for me. Alexander Herrera is joining us on the Amazon chat, so welcome. Thank you for stopping in. And I'll be monitoring both chats, so if you have questions. Now, Don't Throw Oranges wants to replace his wife's old XPS 13. So it sounds like you had maybe the first or second generation XPS 13. I would say that, this would not be equivalent in the sense that it'll perform about the same as that older machine did, if not a little better. But the current XPSs are better than this, if that makes sense. You know, they're more designed for higher end tasks than this is. Alvin says he thinks it's good for business guys, a ThinkPad market. Yeah, I think that's kind of where they're aiming on this one, is people that want something nice and portable. Because you can get portable computers that aren't very nice, right? And Live 90 has a delayed flight. Well, thank you. I'm glad we can help pass the time here a little bit. I hate when my flights get delayed. Are you at the airport, or are you hopefully not at the airport? Frank Cromer is here. It is raining where he is, and he can't cut the grass. And now it's going to be even longer when it's done raining. The Tam Man is here. Tech Time with Eric is joining us. Yeah, I'm still off my usual 2 p.m. schedule, Eric. Sorry about that. Yeah, you know, this is one of those reviews, and I'm thinking a lot about this because I am someone who spent the last year using a Surface Laptop Go as kind of like my daily driver. It's been my daily driver laptop for Windows. Yeah, Mac is still my daily driver, but this has been my daily driver Windows laptop, if that makes sense. And if you're someone who really focuses on specifications and features, you know, this is not for the tech enthusiast. But I think it is, and this one is in particular because it's a nice improvement over the last one. It's a really nice machine for people looking for something nice to travel with, or looking for a general purpose computer that's lightweight. Because I said I get a lot of use out of mine, surprisingly so. But I am the type of person that likes to have a 12-inch laptop around, and that's why I really kind of like this one. Jolt Dude is here. And Don't Throw says that she bought the XPS because of it being small. Yeah, so if that's I think you will definitely like this, if that's what you're after. And I'm actually kind of surprised with the performance so far in a good way. It's performing well. And I think this will be a nice upgrade, especially if you have like an i5 XPS from the 5th generation. This will be a nice bump in performance, especially on the graphics side for sure. The Tam Man wants to know my opinion on the Surface Go 3. So I had the original Surface Go, which I liked until the Laptop Go came out. And then I went to the Laptop Go because I really wanted a laptop. And I liked the Surface Go because it was cheap and portable. But this became more portable and works better as a laptop. So that's why I went with the Surface Laptop Go. And so I'm actually going to be trading in my other one and keeping this one. And that's what's happened was I bought this to review thinking, oh, I'll buy it, review it, and I'll sell it like I usually do. Then I was like, I got a project, I'll use it for that. And the next thing I know, it became my daily driver Windows machine. And I have, you know, a gaming laptop that's far more powerful for the things that you would need that for. But this one looks pretty good. Okay, so let's take a look. If you go to Lon.TV/benchmarks, you can see what I'm filling in. I'm on the TimeSpy benchmark test tab. And I suppose I could share the screen here. Let me get that going real quick. And so you can see what that looks like. All right, so what I'm going to do in 1 second here is share my screen. And let me just put on my Do Not Disturb here. Okay. All right, so what we are going to do is look at where this machine falls in versus others. And so I got a score of 1373, which puts it right up there with some of these Ryzen machines. But we got to dig into this number a little bit because this is this result is a composite of all of these components, right? So if we jump back to the computer here, I want to go look at our individual scores. So we got 8.23 FPS on the first test, and I'll switch back here. And we got 7.08 FPS on the second test. And for the CPU, we got 10.85. So that is about where I would expect it to land. And if you look, what's surprising to me here, and this could be driver optimization since I last ran this test, is that this seems to be in the neighborhood of some of the i7s that we've looked at. So for example, the HP Envy X360 came in almost at the same score with an i7, which should perform better than this with its greater number of graphical units here. So I would attribute this likely to driver optimization, because this is a very high score for an i5 chip. And you can see it's right up there with some Ryzen-based laptops also. So this might do a little better on the games than I thought it would. So that's very intriguing. Interesting. That's a good score. All right, wow, I missed a whole bunch of comments here. Let me go back and see what I missed here. Yep, we're going to be playing some games here. This is not a gaming laptop, though, so keep your expectations in line there. But yeah, you'll always do better. You could spend this much money on a gaming laptop and get a GPU and everything else, right? Or close to it. Kevin, this was the 3D Mark Time Spy benchmark test. And Crunthat is looking for an Asus with the 12th generation Zen. Yeah, there's a lot of supply chain issues still going on. Charles G wants to know about the display. Yeah, the display looks nice. It looks the same as it did on the prior edition. It's not very high resolution, so the output resolution on this is 1536 by 1024. So, because it's a 3x2, so it's a little better than, it's like in between 720p and 1080p. Now, if you plug it into a monitor, you can get 4K out of it, but sitting on the desk here, it's a fairly low resolution display. But at the same time, when you have a 12-inch display, the lower resolution is not as noticeable as it would be if this was like a 14 or a 15-inch laptop, if that makes sense. All right, let me take a few more questions, and then we'll load up some games here. Tech Time with Eric is looking at a new laptop. Oh, the one that I told you is starting to show its age. Yeah, when you start doing some of the 4K stuff, you'll start to hit the wall on that one, I think. Although it should do okay with that GPU. Cats Like Springs is here on the Amazon chat. Good to see you. Alvin wants to know on my first laptop Go, has it been reliable? Yeah, the battery life has not been great on it, and this one isn't much better. I think it's a little better than the prior edition, but I was getting 5 or 6 hours out of the other one. Performance-wise, very reliable. I mean, it's worked great, and it's not been abused, but it's been hauled around a lot, and it's held up. I haven't dropped it or anything, but it still has its integrity. Like its structural integrity is good, despite the fact that it's been used a lot. It's been it's around the kids, it's in the kitchen, it's banged on all the time. Like my wife runs QuickBooks on it for something that she does, and so it's always getting moved around, and it's good. All right. Let's see here. Which components? Here's a good question. Which components drive technology growth and sales? Hardware, software, operating systems, marketing, continued profit, user needs, or a combination thereof? I think it's a matter of balance and dials that you press, right? Because we look at, and we will see in a couple of days, because I've got some more of these mini PCs in, that you can buy these super inexpensive mini PCs that don't perform very well, but they're made as a commodity device. Like, here is a computer that you can get super cheap, and the company that makes them has enough of a margin that if they make enough and sell enough, they can make money. When you have something like this, it's like, all right, let's put some money into the R&D side. Now, granted, this one is making Microsoft a lot more money than the prior one, because for the most part, the hardware is the same. It's the internals that were changed. So they swapped out the processor, upgraded to the newer generation of chipset, But as far as this one compared to last year, the keyboard's the same, the trackpad's the same, the display is the same, the case is the same. It is the same physical hardware, maybe with some minor improvements. The keyboard feels a little different as far as the key press feeling, but not the keyboard itself. But it is very much, it is very much the same investment in R&D, I think, on this one versus the other one. And yeah, I've got plenty of laptops around here. What's funny is I've always got one in on loan to review, so I've got a couple of extras always on hand that do that. Jolt Dude says, could it be the RAM speed? That's possible. I don't know what, I have to look up the specs on this as far as the RAM speed is concerned, but this is really performing well. The Brown is here. This one I bought, and I actually got a good deal on it because I got, there's education pricing for this, and as you know, I'm an adjunct professor now, so I get access to that pricing. So I was able to get a trade-in offer on my old one, which brought the cost of this new one down dramatically, so that's why I went with it. And plus, people were interested in it, too. And Jolt Dude is looking for either a Windows laptop or a mini PC that's stable. And that's the problem. I think everyone's needs are very specific, which is why if you look at Lenovo, they make so many different computers because of those different tastes, right? And you really have to, when you're very specific about what you're looking for, you've really got to do some research. And for me, like I said, I was surprised when I got the Surface Laptop Go 1 that it became as useful to me as it did. And this one feels like, so far, it feels like a very nice improvement over that. All right, let's, oh, it's got an update. Of course it does. Hopefully it's not a big update. Let's see. So we're going to try Red Dead Redemption 2 on this sucker. And we've got to pull down a quick 2.8 gigabyte update, but that won't take very long. So we'll do that real quick, and then we'll pop in. We'll start with the most demanding game first and see where it ends up. This also has Wi-Fi 6 on board. So right now, it's hard to see, but I am pulling down from Steam. Here, I'll zoom in on it. Here's a good test of its Wi-Fi. Oops. We're pulling down over half a gigabit on Wi-Fi with the Wi-Fi 6. That's pretty good. So that is probably about 600 megabits per second, give or take, maybe a little less. Not bad though, huh? So Wi-Fi 6, and that is not on the old one. So you get Wi-Fi 6 is a new feature on this one. And much appreciated, Alvin. Yeah, I think I found with these lower cost computers is that you've got to be very particular, or people that are looking for them are very particular. So I try to do enough to give people the answer that they're looking for, right? And what I'm going to do now is pair up my Xbox controller so that we can play a little game here. Shall we play a game? Who remembers that movie? There's my Xbox controller. And we'll do some Game Pass streaming on here too. I have a feeling, given what we saw on that benchmark, that Red Dead is going to run pretty well. And we're also going to try the usual suspects here. We'll do Doom Eternal. We'll grab that update real quick also. Yeah, this Wi-Fi is pretty good on this thing. And William got it. It was War Games. I watched that movie recently. It still holds up. And yeah, I guess you're probably right, Eric. Are you using DaVinci Resolve? But yeah, probably the later the editors like a lot of cores, for sure. So does the vMix application that I use. I've got 8 cores on this machine here. The Don wants to know, how well do these games play on the integrated GPU? We're going to find out. Now, typically, when we get the scores that we saw earlier, a game like Red Dead Redemption 2 here will actually perform at a playable level. So we've seen Red Dead on comparably performing computers, and we'll see what happens with this one, but we've seen it run at around 30 frames per second or so. And David Bound has been using a Mac Mini with Intel. Those are very stable mini PCs. I have a friend that bought the M1. He loves it. Granted, he doesn't run a lot of Windows apps on it, but for the stuff that he does with it, it works pretty well. And Chris Gannon has a Laptop Go like I do. It's been a godsend for travel. Yeah, I'm with you. Exactly. That is exactly how I feel with mine. I've found way more utility from it than I expected, because I really like 12-inch laptops, so I'm biased in that regard. Yeah, so I think this one, when we talk about like really cheap computers, like this doesn't feel like that. In fact, when you start playing with it, it feels like a computer that should cost more because it's got that polished industrial design. All right, so we're going to see how the games work. I think this is going to be better for gaming than I expected it to be. And I think, Chris, you are probably spot on with this. The graphics performance is going to be, I think, the biggest area of improvement, because the other one did not have the XE graphics and this one does. And I found the fan noise is not as loud on this new one. The fan is much quieter so far. We'll see what happens when this game loads up. But if you're happy with if you feel like you're not pushing your current one, I think you're going to be happy staying put. And to be honest, I don't play games on my Surface Go either, but the fact that this one might be a deciding factor. I've already decided to trade my old one in just because I got this one, but we'll see how it does. Here's a good question from Waris. Yeah, you notice, I think, the lack of density. What I notice more than not is the fact that I'm kind of used to, for example, my 12-inch MacBook and my 13-inch MacBook Air, where you've got, that scaled display where you can, really make the most out of that resolution with larger images, and you don't get that effect here. So things look a little more jagged, if that makes sense. It's not distracting. It's just that you notice that it's not as high a resolution, especially if you're used to high-density displays. So that's definitely something to consider. If you're sensitive to that, you will definitely see a difference there. But it's not as bad as like a 15-inch 720p display. All right. Let me see if I can get sometimes I can pull it up and sometimes I can't, my overlay. And the first thing we're going to do also is jump into the settings, if it'll let me. It looks like we're not going to get the overlay working. That's okay. We'll figure it out. All right, so let's go over to graphics and make sure that we are. So I'm going to put it down to 720p just to be reasonable. And we'll do VSync off. And we're going to just bring it down to the lowest settings. And hopefully it comes back. We'll see. Where did it go? All right, so we have I've seen this happen before, and I can't remember how I fixed it the last time it happened. So you know what we're going to do here is we're going to reload the game. Because I do remember these things getting really temperamental when it changed video modes in the prior version. So let's see what happens when we do that. Now, what I just did is I turned the resolution down to 720p, and you saw I got all flaky, so we'll have to experiment with that a little bit more here. And Stacy points out, so I was not aware that you couldn't boot camp Windows 11 on the Intel devices. All right, let's kill this here. And we'll try this again. Chris Allegretta is here. Good to see you. But I've seen this issue arise that we just experienced. Let's see if cycling the game here makes a difference there. No, but I was wondering on the boot camp if on the Intel Mac Mini, because you could definitely get ARM Windows to work, but as far as booting the Intel one to Windows 11, I guess it's probably not doable. We'll see. All right, so we are still running in. Now there was a setting, and I can't remember. This was on the NVIDIA hardware that I found this problem. Right now it's like running in a window. Let's see if we can force it to full screen. And I would not run CAD applications on this. It's certainly fine for Office, but this is not well designed for CAD. All right, let's jump back into the settings here and see if we can. See, now it's window borderless. If I want to go full screen and hit A, there we go. All right, now it's good. Okay, so now we're at 720p lowest settings. And let's load the story. And while that's loading, I'm going to set up my recorder so we can get some B-roll done in here. Now, the old one from last year would not even, you couldn't even think about running a game like this. But this one, I think, is going to do better based on what we saw in that benchmark. So I think for simple video editing and social media kind of stuff, fine, definitely. If you get into more advanced activities, no way. Just because it's just not well suited. This is it's pretty playable. Little bit of lag right there. I don't know if I can get my. Was it control? What's the Steam code? Is what? It's like Shift Tab to get the Steam thing up. Let's see. Steam overlay command. Shift Tab. Okay, it's not supported in this game. Yeah, I would say that we're looking at, about what we typically see. It's in the 30 frames per second territory. Like, this is totally playable to me. We'll get on the horse here. Kind of ride into the sunset, if you will. Completely playable. And it's funny, the fan is not that loud on it either. It's audible, but I would say the fan noise is about half of what it used to be. I got bit by a snake. Can I shoot the birds up there? I think I can. Let's see. Yeah, this is doable. All right. So that answers the Don's question, I think, right? It's actually doing better than I expected it to do. It's right up there with like what we've seen from integrated graphics on more powerful machines. And it's certainly in line with some of the Ryzen stuff that we've looked at as well. All right, let's see if we've got some more questions here. Yeah, Mando's got a good 1080p for sure, not 4K. Absolutely. And yeah, the AMDs are good. Intel's really, though, caught up with the 11th and 12th generations, for sure. So Mando says, I need to go into town. I'm not rendering anything in the open. I guess we could try to go into town. Should we go into town real quick? We'll do that real quick. I got a few minutes. And Stacy says, one thing I can say, why don't they offer 16 gigs of RAM? That's a good question. They don't make it easy, do they? I think they probably limit the SKUs based on what they think people want. Apple will offer that, but they'll charge you an arm and a leg. And Brian uses his Mac Mini as a home server. That's a very good use for it, is syncing up all your iCloud stuff. I need to do that because I have most of my cloud stuff is in the cloud but not backed up locally. And that's something I should probably look at. Now, is there a way to like warp into town in this game? I haven't really played it all that much, to be honest. And what I do with my Apple devices, now my most recent MacBook, I think I got the 512 gig, but usually I just plug in Thunderbolt and USB-C external drives. So I don't really have like a base station anymore. My MacBook Pro is like my everything computer, so I dock it and I do all that. So let's see, how do we get into town? Can I just like warp to town, or I have to, let's see, map? So let's see, how do we even get out here? So let's go to Emerald Station. That's the post office. Let's see. That's the town over here. Stagecoach. You can see I haven't gotten too far in the game yet either. Yeah, we'll go to the post office here. Let's go. We'll go travel. I guess I got to huff it. Or my horse has to huff it. All right, so town is this way. Yeah, follow the... Now it's getting dark out. But it is playable. Let's follow the road here. Of course, now it's nighttime, right? So I can't see much. Here, why don't we get out? We'll get off the horse here and see how this renders in. Because we've got some characters here. And let's see what we get. It slows down a little bit, but it's still, far better than, like I said, you would never get this working with the prior edition. So you can feel it probably doing a little frame blending or something to make it less laggy, but definitely playable. It's still in the 25 to 30 territory here. We'll go to this house over here and see what that looks like. I can't even imagine what goes into designing a game like this. Get the foliage, the architecture. You must need like an entire team just to design this house. There's probably multiple teams of people who are tasked with just doing the details on this. Can I open the door? Oh, he's beating me up. Maybe that'll get me into town. Yeah, so it definitely slows down a little bit here, but it's not bad. Try and get into the door here. Let me in the house. But it still feels pretty playable. All right, well, that's good. So let's try Doom Eternal and see how that does. And we got a new member, Matthew Kelly. Thank you for becoming a member. We'll give you a shout out also on the weekly wrap up, and you'll be in the credit rolls eventually too. All right, so let's let the thing update here. Win32 says that Rockstar, yeah, they do that crunch thing. I think we're going to start seeing some improvements in the labor conditions for the game developers. And I got to tell you, I have a MacBook Air M1, which I gave to my wife, and I have a MacBook Pro 14, and I have yet to find the end of the battery on it. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. It's a really amazingly well-optimized processor for what I do with it. But if you're a gamer, forget it. There's really there's no gaming ecosystem really beyond the casual stuff. Like, it'll run a lot of the iPad games and things, but well, there you go. We just locked up on Doom Eternal. Isn't it kind of funny that it'll run Red Dead Redemption 2, but it locks up on Doom Eternal? Let's see. Oh, dump this back out here. Let's see what's going on. I'll try it again. This one is on Intel hardware is always problematic. And you're welcome, Matt. I appreciate the kind words. And Chris says, anyone who loves upgradable laptops, yeah, I think there's no other laptop to look at other than the framework for upgradability. It was locked up again. We reviewed one. My brother has one, really likes it. In fact, my brother went to high school with one of the founders of the framework. So here we've got a video memory allocation issue. I've seen this before with Doom Eternal. And there's no way to really rebalance everything, so it's just not gonna work. Let's try Witcher 3. And let's retry the sync. And we'll go load that up real quick. And the other thing I did with Windows is I moved the taskbar back to the corner. I can't stand it in the middle. It just drives me crazy. Tesla on the Amazon chat is watching on a Lenovo. This is a Microsoft laptop. This is the Surface Laptop Go 2. There was a 1 and now there's a 2, which is this one, the new one. All right, so we're going to do the same thing we did on the other game. We're going to turn down the settings. So we are going to go to low for our graphics preset, and we are going to move it to 720p. And everything else is low. Perfect. All right. It is stretching it out to the 3:2 aspect ratio, and some games handle the aspect ratio better than others. Tesla wants to know, does this one have a fingerprint sensor? It does. I'll give you my overhead view. They integrate it right into the power button here. Now, the entry-level version that has 4 gigs of RAM doesn't have the fingerprint reader, but this one with the 8 gigs does. So that is its biometric. As far as other special features, it is a touch display. So you've got that. And it's just well built for, in my opinion, for its price. That's what attracts me to the, that feels like it's running pretty good. Let me pull up my overlay here because I can get the frame rate counter working on this game. Oops. So this is running, I kid you not. This is running at like 50 frames per second. It's like 45, 50 right now. Let's see what happens when we get into battle. See, a little bit of a lag hit there. Now it's lagging a little bit. I might be running, it was probably loading off the disk. But yeah, we're in like the 40 frames per second territory here, fighting these guys off. And again, I think those lag hits are disk reads. Let's try that again. I'm not very good at this game, as you can see. But I am reading this off a USB hard drive, so that could be why. Let's try it again here and see what happens. I get my sword out again. Ooh. Fast attack. Let's just hit him with the boom, boom. All right, let's get out of here. Run away, run away. They're giving up on me. But it's pretty good. I mean, it lags a little bit. Again, I think that's probably due to the disk read issue. But that's going to be a problem on this laptop anyhow because it only has 128 gigs. You're not going to fit many games on it. But, you know, like, it's a lot quicker than I thought it was going to be. Although it's now stuck moving because it was having read issues. Or did my controller die on me here? I'm not sure. Something's gone awry with the controls. It's kind of running on autopilot. Yeah, a little adjustment, but I think it's pretty playable. More than I thought it would be. So, all right. So Red Dead, and then Witcher 3. And again, I think those lag hits on The Witcher 3 here are likely due. Yeah, my controller just completely stopped responding. I wonder if that is a Bluetooth issue. They did push down a BIOS update, and I kid you not, when I didn't want to put you all through that horrible experience of like updating for 4 hours. So I did not do the initial, I did all the update stuff before I started the stream. That update was substantial, and there was a BIOS update. Every driver had an update, so I would imagine we might have had a little hiccup with the Bluetooth driver there. You see that? I think that's a disk read hit versus a graphics hit, because that thing was rendered in before we got there. But it's pretty quick. I mean, definitely playable, for sure, especially if you installed on the internal SSD. The drive is upgradable on this if you take it apart, but you got to pull off the rubber foot, which I hate. And then you got to lift and this part is like magnetically attached, so you lift this part up and you can get at the drive underneath the keyboard. So you could upgrade the storage on it if you wanted to. All right. Well, that's pretty good. Let's see what else I have installed on here. Could probably pull down something from Game Pass. Hey, Mark Dell is here. I was about to put your little heart up there for that. He cares. All right. Looks like YouTube's having some trouble with for Chris to at people. Okay, so we saw Doom didn't work, but The Witcher 3 did, and Red Dead Redemption 2 did. Maybe I'll go pull something off of Game Pass real quick. Let's see what I have available to me there. I might have to log into my Microsoft account again. Let's see. Yeah, you know, it's kind of funny that you have to sign in when you've already signed in the computer, right? We've got to update the app. Okay, so I am signed in, but I have to update the app here. Oh, Mark Dell sent some channel gifts. Let's see here. Oh, we did. Thank you. Gifted 5. Oh, wow. Okay, so, and I'm not sure how this works, but Mark Dell has gifted 5 memberships to the channel. Thank you very much. And I don't know how people can claim them, unless it like puts something into the chat maybe. I do need some Lon.TV emojis. I've never gotten around to design. I have no artistic skills either. That's part of my problem. But thank you very much, Mark, for that. And Tech Time is at the parts department at a Mitsubishi dealer. How about that? Okay, so I need some help. What I need is an artist who can make me emojis. That's what I really need. And then we can talk. And Greg M says it randomly picks users. Interesting. Automatically. Huh. How about that? So who became a member? I got to get everybody's names down. Well, I guess it'll show up on my thing when I look at it. All right. Let's see what goes on here. Tesla wants to know, what type of camera do I do this? So I have a bunch of JVC camcorders, and we use a production system called vMix for pulling it all together. So when I live stream, I actually have the same exact workflow as when I am, oh great, I forgot to update all these Windows apps. I have the same workflow when I live stream as I do when I record a video. All right, so let's take a look at the Game Pass library here, and something that's like small that we can install quickly. Oh, you know what we didn't try? What we didn't try was No Man's Sky, which I do have installed, so let's do that. Why doesn't it show up on my list here? Because I know that's installed on this computer. Here it is. All right, let's go back to the chat here. All right, so maybe I can try to make my logo an emoji. I'll give that a shot. And then the weekly wrap-up hand gesture. I should try that too. And right, you can custom, yeah, and I guess YouTube has to approve all of those too. I'll look at it again. I have no artistic ability whatsoever, as you can see from my set. Like the fact that I even have like a set is for me is an accomplishment. So I got to find an artist that can do the, what is it? How do I do it? It's just like this, so it's maybe like a finger pointing down, like diagonally down or something. I don't know. It's an animation. That's the trick, right? All right, so here's No Man's Sky. I actually expect this to run at about 30 frames per second, but we will see for sure. Oh, wow, Chris Allegretta, thank you for your membership bump there. Much appreciated. That will get you on the end credit rolls for the rest of the year, I believe. So thank you very much for that. I just saw it come in on my notification on my phone. All right, so we're going to play the game. And we'll load up my most recent save game here. And Chris says, just steal some of the, maybe I'll do that. That might be the way to go. So I do not believe the storage is soldered on. The prior version is not soldered, so I think this one is the same, if everything else is. So it should be possible to upgrade it. And we'll see where, I don't know what the settings are at. I think it's still at 720p from before, but I'll double check this. And Mark wishes the Surface laptop was smaller. Yeah, so you're looking for something that's got like a little more horsepower, but in this footprint, it sounds like. Because this doesn't have a backlit keyboard, by the way. That's the one thing, like for this price. So you all saw that Yoga we looked at from Lenovo last week. Like that's a great all-rounder, and the price was really, I would say the price of that one is in the same ballpark as this one. It was a 2-in-1 touch screen, backlit keyboard, Ryzen processor, very comparable performance, but larger. So it's always down to size. If you want it smaller, you pay more and sacrifice something to keep the price where it is. But it surprises me, like everything has a backlit keyboard nowadays, especially at this price, but this one, nope. But yeah, no backlit keyboard. That's what I mean, like this is why this is not for tech enthusiasts. This is a laptop for people that want something that runs Windows, that is a little more powerful than, you know, the El Cheapo laptops. But it's surprising because even the MacBook, which was like half the thickness of this thing, had a backlit keyboard. And yeah, I think what Microsoft struggles with here is that they don't have the volume that Lenovo does, but they put in probably the same effort in the manufacturing and the R&D. So I would bet you that they make very little on this laptop. Probably more, like I said at the outset, I think they make more on this one than last year's just because they haven't changed any of the hardware. So all that investment in industrial design from last year is rolling over. There's inherited value with that. All right, so let's go to the video options here. Yeah, we're at, let's go to graphics options. Okay, so we got everything on the low setting here. So we're at 720p. And I expect things to, yeah, do this for a minute or two until it settles down. And I suspect that we're dealing with USB lag here from this, because I have the games on an external hard drive. I mean, these days I've got enough bandwidth now, I could probably just download everything pretty quickly, but I like to just get up and running fast, and so I think that's why we're seeing the lag that we're seeing. All right, so let's do like a little, I think we'll run up to the ship and then jump in. I'm going to hit the record button here. So it's running at about, wow, it's at 50 frames per second on the ground right now at 720p. Like I said, we're getting a little bit of lag from the, you know, from the disk hits here, I think. Yeah, this is at close to 60 right now. Isn't that crazy? It looks great, doesn't it? I mean, we are at like 58, which is insane. Probably going to run out of fuel before we hit the ground. Let's see. Yeah, the graphics performance on this is much better than I expected. Now we're like around 30. Usually when you hit the planets is when it really starts to bog down a bit. But this is totally playable. And you would not be able to play this at all on the other one. And now we're about 45. That's great. Mark says scorch marks on the table. So far, no. And surprisingly, the fan is not that, it is not nearly as loud as the other one was. And I think what's happening here, Matt, is that my cameras don't have very good dynamic range. I'm actually shopping for new cameras right now. So when you have a bright screen on the desk, it blows out. So we're going to have to adjust some things when I do the final review. And as far as heat goes, it's not bad. I mean, it's definitely warm under there. But it does have a fan. It's not fanless, of course. So I think the airflow is pretty good. Now, what's interesting is that this doesn't have any vents on the bottom. So it's doing everything from inside the hinge here. So I don't know where it's drawing the air in from, if maybe it goes from one vent and out the other. Although maybe it was, I think I read somewhere it was the keyboard too. I can't remember what they do with this one. So I would love to hear your opinion on that, Mark, though. I've been asking in some of my production Facebook groups about those cameras. The big thing for me is having a continuous autofocus. So that's going to be something I'm going to like to hear your thoughts on. Because these cameras, like as I move around, this one is following, it locks onto my face, so it stays focused. So if I move forward or move back, it's always, it's always there. So I'm going to try to squeeze a little more life out of these cameras that I have, because these will output 4K. And I might move the camera on me back a little bit to see if that might give us a little nicer bokeh. So I'm going to mess around with a little bit of that. But yeah, this is good stuff. All right, so let's do one other thing, and then I got to run. We're going to shut it down, and we're going to boot up Ubuntu on it, because we always like to test Linux, right? And believe it or not, I am fairly certain that this thing, because the other one did, will boot up Ubuntu without issue. And I can't remember what the key press is to get into the BIOS. I think maybe it's, no, not delete. We'll have to go run that game, the F10. We'll try the F10 next year and see if that does it. But I'm very impressed with the graphics performance on this. I was not expecting it to be as good as it is, especially with the i5 on board. So I don't know if it's RAM speed or some other optimization, but it's really good. All right, it wasn't F10. Hang on, let me do Surface, Laptop Go, boot selection. Let's see what we can do for there. Oh, hold down the volume. Oh, it might be a little different. Okay, so it might be volume down. Although this doesn't have a volume rocker. So let's see, Surface Laptop Go. All right, let's see, laptop. I know it can boot off the USB. We just have to figure out how to do it. By the way, Tesla was wondering about the fingerprint reader. So the fingerprint reader is right here. And this is the only thing that lights up on the keyboard is the outline of the key. And then you can use that to log in, and then it goes away. So when it's expecting input, it lights it up. All right, so let's see. It's F2 maybe? All right, make the Surface start from all Surface models. Shut down your Surface, insert bootable, press and hold the volume down button. I don't have a volume down button on this one. This is not a tablet. I don't think there's a volume control on here. Oh, maybe it's the volume down on the keyboard. Okay, that's what you got to do. Okay, so let's do that. Let's shut down. And I got to hold down the volume down on the keyboard. That's what we got to do. So it is essentially F3. All right, so I'm going to hold down F3. There we go. And the fun part with this is that when it starts booting off the USB, is that you see the Windows logo with Ubuntu. Oh, didn't do it. You'll see the Windows logo with Ubuntu underneath it, which is really funny. All right, let's see what happens here. So maybe it's the mute one. Let's see, because it says, oh, volume up, not volume down. Okay, I hit the wrong key. So it's F4. I got to follow directions better. And they actually put a little bump on the key too. All right, so now we're going to hold, let me start recording again. This is always kind of funny to see a Windows logo with the Ubuntu logo side by side. Let's see what we get. There it goes. Okay, so we'll go into boot configuration. So how do I adjust the order? Swipe left on the device to boot. Okay, here we go. Boot this device immediately. Yes. So now it's going to boot off of that. Oh, that was not supposed to happen. It will boot from this. Okay, so, oh, there it goes. I gotta swipe. There we go. Let's try that. And then I want to have the Windows Boot Manager go up one. Oops. Whoa, what is going on here? Drag each boot option to the desired location. So I want to move. I'm not sure what it means by drag. It doesn't seem to drag at all. Oh, there it goes. Okay, so Windows Boot Manager. There it goes. Okay, that's what I want. All right, so now let's go to exit. How do we save? Oh, have been saved. Okay, restart. Let's try it again. Let's see what happens this time. Now it should boot off the USB because I have it plugged in. And it could be that's, you know what it could be? It could be secure boot. Let's try that. I know this will work because I got it to work before with the old one. And I agree, Chris Allegretto, it's crazy that they make you do this. And yep, we are trying to get Linux up on it. And Microsoft is actually very Linux friendly on their devices, so I expect it to work once we figure out how to get it to cooperate. Let me go back here and see what they, I should, again, read the instructions, right? Yes, make sure the USB drive is formatted as FAT30. Okay, we did all that. I think maybe it could be the secure boot feature, which we may have to disable. Let's see if that does anything. Ah, Microsoft's only key combination. Okay, so we're going to change, I'm going to say none. And that should allow us to boot off of that Linux drive. Let's see what happens now. There we go. That's a good sign. Yep, perfect. This is what I love. I love this screen. You ready? You watching? Because you're going to see Windows, and then you're going to see Ubuntu underneath it when it starts booting. Oh, it's looping. No. There it goes. Isn't that funny? I just love that. Because it's so, it shows that they're like embracing open source, right? Like, here's our logo. We are happy to share it. And I guess it's kind of how Ubuntu works. Lenovo pops up when you boot a Lenovo into this thing too, but I just think it's neat. You never see that with Apple, right? So the full price on this one is $699. But if you have any connection to education, I think you can get an educational discount. And Tesla is back on the Amazon chat. Okay, so here we are. Now, I always do a couple things. The first thing we do is make sure that we can get it on the Wi-Fi. So let me go hook it up to my Wi-Fi access point here. It looks like it detected the Wi-Fi successfully. Just got to type in my Wi-Fi password. We did have audio because we heard that come up earlier. The touch screen works, right? You can load up Firefox. Did I mention this has a touch screen? It's got a very nice touch screen, even though it doesn't like go into a tablet mode. And it kind of treats the, let me do this again here. We could actually watch our video live here if we wanted to.
Google Fi, a phone plan by Google. Get Simply Unlimited, our most affordable unlimited plan, starting at just $20.
Hey everybody, it's Lon.TV.
Loop a little
once again for you.
LibreOffice. That came up pretty quick.
To do an update on my Gigabit Pro connection that I am paying a small fortune for from Comcast because this past week they doubled the speed from 3 gigabits to 6. And we're going to take a look and see how it's running right now.
Yeah.
Now I have a full playlist.
I mean, you could have this computer running, you know, Linux exclusively, or you split the boot drive. Seems to work. And you know, I guess it might, maybe it's just how I have it set up. I don't know. I had to turn off that secure boot, which I know it's going to give me some lip over when I reboot here. So let's power it down. But yeah, this is a nice bump over. I would say a lot of the things that bugged me about the last version have been rectified here, most specifically graphics performance. And the graphics performance for what it has on board actually surprised me by how much better it was. Like it's running, you know, oh great, here we go. This is what I was expecting to happen. Give me a minute on this one. I got to go look up some stuff. I'm actually kind of at the end of what I was going to be working on anyhow. So what happens is that when you do one of these turn off the secure boot thing, BitLocker locks you down until you get the recovery key off your Microsoft account. So it's a bit of a pain. YTT Throwaway has the last version, or had the last version. It gets pretty warm. This one's will get warm too, but as far as long as it works, you don't see a lot of throttling or anything. I did do if I smelled something, I did run the stress test on it, and it was able to maintain itself to just under the passing grade. It was like 96%, and 97 is passing. So I bet you if I ran it again, it would be close to that. But no, I think it's a nice improvement. Honestly, this is where the first one should have been for the price point. So, whoops, we almost dropped it. But yeah, it's decent. Not a lot of ports. You got your big USB, a USB-C, and a headphone, and you've got your Microsoft magnetic connector thing there. So I would say the big jump here is the graphics performance, because you've got XE graphics, and this is performing every bit as good as a lot of the Ryzen laptops we've looked at from a gaming perspective and on the benchmark. So that is kind of the big deal here. And yeah, it's kind of, like when I look at the build quality and the overall fit and finish, feature-wise, it feels nicer than it has features for, if that makes sense. So for example, no backlit keyboard, less than 1080p display, but it's very well built. And one of the things I often look for is how well balanced it is, right? I mean, you can do that, and it's 2.5 pounds. So, for me, as somebody who was using a Surface Go 1 for the last year, this is a very nice improvement in performance, in particular performance, because of the graphic update there. So it's pretty good. All right, well, I got to jump off now because I need to go find my BitLocker key. But also, my kids are coming home from their last day of school, and they're heading off to a little trip that I will not be on, but they are going. So I've got to go deal with that. And it's very much a Windows MacBook, as Mark says. Yes, without a backlit keyboard. I think this is a good target. I would bet you that next year, this is an ARM machine. That's what I would predict. We'll see what happens. All right, let me jump off here. Jake is contacting me. I got a lot of stuff going on, and I got to get the BitLocker thing going here. So I will be back again before you know it. And I appreciate everybody tuning in. I want to thank Mark Dell for spotting some members for us. That was very nice of you. And also want to welcome Matthew Kelly to the membership fold as well. And yeah, I hope you all enjoyed the live stream. And I'm going to have a review of this. I'm going to see if I can shoot this before I have to go to my meeting. So this might be up, maybe by the midpoint of, well, tomorrow's the midpoint of the week, in the next day or two, as soon as I have time to shoot the review. But I think you will all enjoy it. And yeah, I'm happy with it. Like I said, I really like 12-inch laptops. That's my bias. I will state that up front, that I am a big 12-inch laptop guy. And there's not enough 12-inch laptops out there that are decent. This is decent. And I think they've done a very nice improvement on the graphics in particular, because that was what was really lacking before. But I will flesh out my thoughts more succinctly in a much shorter length of time. So be on the lookout for that, and we'll go from there. Joel Dude says, you know what's funny? My kids love school. They are sad that school is ending. My two girls love school. They would go every day, all year round if they had the choice. So they are melancholy, but they're going to spend some time on the beach. So we'll see where it goes. And one last question here from Stephen about the SE model. I don't have the SE. I think that might be an education device, and I would expect that this is going to be a little better than that, because it's it's less of a fleet computer and more of a personal computer, I would say, for sure. All right. Well, thank you all for tuning in, and stay tuned. We'll be back. We'll probably have, hey, Stephen's in Taiwan. It's about one or so in the morning out there. We'll be back with another live stream sometime this week, because I've got more stuff to play around with, and I will just emerge out of my digital cloud. So hit the notification, and thank you all for tuning in, and we'll be back again soon. Bye for now.